Question number 7, Dr. David Clark.
My question is to the Minister of Economic Development and asks, does he agree with the Prime Minister when he says of the people of Northland, they want more, they want to go faster? And if so, does he believe that this view on the economy is unique to the people of Northland?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, this question is nearly identical to the member's question 8 in the House yesterday, and I've checked my Hansard and I'm very happy with the answer that yesterday applies today.
It would help if you'd re-answer the question.
Repeat the answer.
Repeat the question.
Order.
Well, what I said yesterday, Mr Speaker, was I do agree with the Prime Minister. In fact, I told Q&A on the weekend that there's an impatience in Northland to do more, and frankly, I share that impatience. Although we've had some positive economic growth and employment growth in the Northland region in recent times, we recognise there is more to be done, and that is why we are fast-tracking critical infrastructure like regional roading projects, the roads of national significance, and ultra-fast broadband and rural broadband. That is why we are working with other parties to reform the Resource Management Act to cut red tape and encourage investment in the region.
Thank you.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
Is the issue of lack of work unique to Northland, given the Household Labour Force survey shows the number of people looking for work in every single region of New Zealand is higher than when the government took office in 2008?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, there's a couple of points there. One is, again, as the member earlier this afternoon tried to ignore, there's been a thing called the global financial crisis, and in fact all over the world, well, actually it hasn't. It hasn't in Spain, it hasn't in Greece, it hasn't in Europe, hasn't in Australia, hasn't in the UK, hasn't in the US, and hasn't in Canada. But I appreciate the member wants to ignore it in the context of New Zealand. But, Mr Speaker, New Zealand has one of the lower unemployment rates in the OECD. New Zealand employment is recovering well, and the New Zealand economy is now one of the fastest growing in the developed world.
Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
Is the issue of squeezed income unique to Northland, given the New Zealand Income Survey shows real median household incomes have decreased in Auckland, Waikato, Bay of Plenty, Gisborne, Hawke's Bay, Manawatu, Wanganui, Tasman, Nelson, Marlborough and the West Coast since his government came to office?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, I'd have to go back and check the member's numbers, but actually, again, the global financial crisis happened in this country. The good news is that when we arrived in office, unfortunately, the previous government had inflation growing faster than incomes. Now we have incomes growing faster than inflation, and I know which New Zealanders prefer.
Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
Is the issue of poorly maintained roads unique to Northland, given NZTA transport funding has decreased over the past 6 years, not only in Northland, but also in Gisborne, Hawke's Bay, Taranaki, Manawatu, Wanganui, Tasman, Nelson, Marlborough and the West Coast?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, this is why the House has some difficulty, I'm sure, believing the member, because on that question he's completely wrong, as he is in others.
Order. Point of order. Dr. David Clark.
Well, I seek leave to table the data which supports the assertions in my question. It's off the NZTA website.
Well, if it's off
by the Parliamentary Library.
Order. If it's off the website, it's available to all members. Does the Minister wish to complete an answer? Supplementary question?
Yep.
Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
Does he intend to do as much to confront the issues of lack of work, squeezed incomes, underfunding of local roads and falling home affordability in other regions of New Zealand as he has done in Northland in the past 6 years? And does he expect similar results?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, again, I'm sorry the member is incorrect. I mean, if he talks about falling home affordability, that is obviously a challenge in Auckland, but actually in regional New Zealand that is not so much of a challenge. I know the member takes a very broad-based approach. There are unique problems in different regions, and Northland has some more intractable problems which have been difficult for politicians of both sides of the House for decades, but we will continue to work on them and we'll continue to apply the appropriate policy mixes to each region of the country, and New Zealand as a whole will continue to grow strongly over the next few years. That's predicted by the Reserve Bank and Treasury, and we'll continue to work on that growth.
Point of order, Dr. David Clark.
I seek leave to table census data showing that home ownership has fallen in every single...
Order. Member will resume seat. Again, census data is freely available.
illustrating the point over that time period for the
On
Minister.
the basis that it's now information from the Parliamentary Library, I'll put the leave is sought to table that particular table prepared by the Parliamentary Library. Point of order.
I seek leave of the House.
Order. I just need to put this leave first then. So leave is sought to table the information asked for by Dr David Clark. Is there any objection to that being tabled? There is not. It can be tabled. The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
I seek leave of the House to table the AMP Housing Affordability Survey issued yesterday, showing that housing affordability has improved in every single region bar Auckland.
Order. The document's been described. Is it a document that's been distributed to all MPs?
It was distributed to Minister.
On the basis that... order. Is it publicly available on the website? It is. I will not put the leave. Question number 8, Denise Roach.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question